Hi, Scorpio. All right, we will be talking about 2025 to 2027 in relation to the transit of Saturn. This will be a Vedic perspective, so if you happen to follow tropical and you see Saturn now in Aries, awesome. I still feel like this could help you. I'm actually really glad that Saturn isn't technically there yet because we're prepping. We want to go slow with Saturn because he's in his fall in Aries. But Scorpio. So there is a collective reading. I'm just telling everyone. I'll link it, but I feel like it's important to watch that because it gives a wider perspective. But this Saturn entrance into Pisces, walking into Pisces, happens. It's so interesting on the eclipse, March 29th, 2025. It's a new moon eclipse, so the sun is there, the moon is there, the north node is there, Mercury, Venus, Saturn enters, and Neptune is there. So this is a whammy of an entry point. This is also very close to the equinox. It's just wild. So Scorpio, Saturn, let's just talk about it. It's important to look over. The last 4 years have been prepping you. We've all been going through this Saturn through Capricorn, Saturn through Aquarius. Now we're Saturn into Pisces. So the last 4 years, significant. In combination with that, Saturn, because we're focusing in on that planet, Saturn also rules 2 houses in our map, right? He rules over Aquarius, and he's the ruler of, he's the king of Capricorn, and he's the king of Aquarius energy. So during this next transit, your 3rd house, 4th house, and 5th house are all highlighted. So you could look at your map in that bigger piece of the pie, particularly Scorpio rising. Again, 3, 4, and 5. So we're talking about your neighborhood, where you live, and your kids, perhaps. Or your neighborhood, where you live, and your love affairs. This 5th house is a lot of things. I mean, it's the house of risk, right? So I wouldn't do anything crazy like go swimming in the ocean when it is a storm. Like you could, this, not to scare anybody, but what I'm saying is like it would be risky. For instance, you could drown going to swim in the ocean, or not swimming for a long time and then be like, I'm going to swim 5 miles. I'm going to swim across this lake. And it's like, that's not smart. Don't do that. You have to build up to do something. Now, as 5th house is also the house of capacity, right? 3rd house is our ability. 5th house is going to ask us, it's going to show us, the more time we spend in there, what our actual capacity is for something. Saturn's going to give you the boundary. But it may be a lot further than you think that it is, especially if you use your imagination. As this transit begins to, Vesta is in Scorpio, so in your 1st house. I love this. This is about finding your own spiritual comfort, your own spiritual way of connecting with God, whatever that is, whoever that is to you. It's also being able to connect with other women, circles of women, and a few selective men will also be significant. She will be there in Scorpio until September, something to note, because she represents dedication and devotion, and so does Saturn. Venus is also playing a significant role, which to me is also another representation of being devoted and being married to something, right? Mercury is where we try. Venus is where we decide to do, not only now, but in the future too. Long-term Saturn. So some of you, for instance, your kids are grown, or you are entering into menopause. You may be, actually, some of you could even be exiting out of menopause, depending on where you're at. You could start to be more refined in your artistic ability also, or like your music. Like maybe some of you are always singing to yourselves. Like it's just fun for you to sing or it's fun for you to play music. But Saturn's sort of asking you in ways of these creative things, like how about this creative self-expression? Like, are you doing it just for fun? Would you like to perform in front of others? Uh, it may overcome shyness. Like again, I'm seeing someone who sings all the time and they have a beautiful voice, but like they've never done karaoke. And even if they only do it once, it's like I do feel like it, you know, say like at a party, it would be really fun. It would be, maybe it's something that becomes a hobby, you know, or maybe you just start taking your hobbies, like things are sort of casual like that, a little bit more seriously. You know, it's like, oh yeah, I like to crochet, but I'm actually going to teach myself this particular pattern and like learn how to read this sort of language. If the person, some of you could start dating a sailor if you're single. I don't think dating's very good right now though. Scorpio rising, particularly if you're single. It's because Saturn's blocking the romance. It's not, it's like, it's not really fun. It's almost like someone wants something more serious. You know, Vesta in the first house is a pretty serious person. It's like, I know I'm concerned with their soul, right? Pluto's the ruler of Scorpio. That's the soul. Vesta's the soul. To me, Scorpio's, Pisces is sort of the soul. It's strong. So you're definitely going to want to feel like someone's going to want to be more at home than they are when they're at work. I heard, and if you happen to work at a place with a bunch of jerks, like egotistical people, they potentially could get fired. I see it's important, Scorpio rising specifically, not to make that happen for yourself. I heard let God figure it out. Right? You don't want to create more karma for yourself by making a stink about something when someone's going to just... I mean, I heard if it's really, 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 really bad and completely, utterly, you know, somebody's raping somebody, like, yes, tell somebody that somebody needs to know if no one else for some reason doesn't know. But if this is just like somebody's an asshole and, you know, you want to be sneaky, like detective, trying to get them fired, like that's... It's talking shit, that kind of... It's not going to do it. So this just might be the kind of people that could be around, or like that you come across and it's like, okay, well, just let them be. I heard try to be compassionate, because I heard we've all had our egos, right? Now, as this is a trine to you, this is going to bring some kind of ease with something. It's like it wants to harmonize. So actually having Vesta in the first house too is like having more of a prayer practice with yourself. Devoting time again to God, to whatever God you, the godly space you connect with. You know, whatever that spiritual space you were inspired by. Because I see that this is really healing for you. I could also say that until September, some of you may feel like not so sexual. Or again, like not so romantic. It could be because family and career, or like home and the job, that world is holding a lot of energy. Or maybe some things just need to are settling there. I wouldn't say this is a time for casual. Saturn in the 5th is not a casual dater either. I know some of you are already married, but we're just saying there's a lot of people here. So like Saturn in the 5th is not a casual dater. You know, like if it actually wants to go hang out with somebody, they feel a connection to them, and they don't take dating lightly. So that might be the thing. If you're not serious, don't, I heard, well, rather, if you're not serious, then be honest about it. You know, and hopefully if you're involving yourself with other people and they're not serious, they would be honest about that. Maybe you just need to ask a question, you know. You know, maybe so, like, because I'm seeing Jupiter will be in your 8th house of sex, for instance, and 5th house of sex. It's like, well, it's interesting that's coming up so much. Okay. Well, maybe that's something that energy is being worked out. I mean, a lot of times with Vesta in the 1st house can also represent an energy where, like, well, someone's afraid to get pregnant, or sometimes it shows a prostitute. To me, it shows a prostitute in another life. Although this isn't natally, it's just transitorily. But it either makes a person, like, sort of frigid, like they think sex is wrong, and, like, having that desire is wrong in a way. And then sometimes it's so free-flowing that it knows that it's just, I don't know, it, like, kind of, it can either disassociate or become one with something. But it's hard to find the middle ground. So maybe that's where a person's been walking or will be walking for a little while. Although there's no less love between people. And I do see a lot of spiritual love, and maybe that's the thing, is like, okay, say a person is celibate, whether they're involved or not. I mean, you could be married 20 years, but, like, it may just be something different. You know, it's like different kinds of love, right? There's family love, there's friend love, there's eros, kind of romantic love, sexual love, what have you. So, let me see. Scorpio. We mentioned all those points. It wants you to make I guess we already said this, but, like, Saturn here wants you to make a hobby more of something serious. It could also be protecting a person from, this is protecting, someone's being protected from enemies also. It might just be in their energy. I don't know. Because I can feel a little bit of the Scorpio stinger. I'm seeing a bit of the stinger where it's like, no. But Saturn's like, yes. And Vesta says yes. And Venus says yes. It's like these things are all about devotion and love and the comforts of reliability, of security, spiritually, physically. But, like, there's a part of the Scorpio that's like the tail of the scorpion. It's like, no, I don't trust it in some kind of way. So you might just be learning trust. And again, I see reliability. If you feel like, it could maybe be that someone's psychic ability also is a little bit thwarted. But it maybe to be externalized. So it's more of it like comes in. It seems less than, but it's because it's becoming more concentrated. And I feel like a person's also being protected there. But it's being more concentrated so it can be channeled in a different way or through a different expression, right? It's kind of like, all right, I'm not going to have sex, right? I'm celibate. I'm deciding to be celibate, or I just don't have any energy for it. Well, that's because you're supposed to be more emotional or more creative, right? And it's kind of like that, like, so maybe some of you, I don't know. Because technically you could be doing a lot of something, but part of, it keeps showing me the beach, like the sand and the water. So watch your children, your grandchildren near the water, near the beach. Pay attention to them when they're there. Don't let them run off too much, at least during this transit. Not to scare you, but just like be aware. I'm hearing music. Or like just make sure everyone, for instance, has like the life preserver. I mean, not that you're supposed to be responsible for everybody, but this is one of those things where it's just like, okay, you're the babysitter. That would be your responsibility at that time. I would pay attention to your teeth and your feet particularly. Oh, we talked about that menopause too, because the fifth house, right? It's like that's children. It's like no more children. The that part of the body is now, it's not functioning in that way. So, I guess the body's going to be like, well, it's changing in that way. So pay attention again to your teeth and your feet, because in the future, when Saturn goes through your sixth, you're gonna that's a really big health thing, and you don't want to push yourself during that. Especially as it'll be in the fall, in its fall. Oh, if you happen to have any planets, I don't know if we mentioned this, in Pisces, so Pisces moon, it could be any planet really, but particularly if you do. As Saturn approaches that, say it's like early degrees, so the beginning of this transit, it'll be coming closer and closer to it. If it does, it's going to create stress. You're going to feel it, right? You may even see it, like your skin, like your feet might get weird. You got to fix a tooth. Like things will just let you know the worry. But it could just be internal stress too. But as he leaves, he always gives a gift. Now, if you particularly have a Pisces moon, even though this will be trining you, this is called Sarasati. And please let me know if you just say I have Pisces moon. If you don't know anything beyond that, and because that's a very significant time. It can cause a lot of depression. This can also be where your children are depressed, or some of your children are alcoholics, or that runs in the family and now there's a risk of it. Or I'm actually seeing I'm seeing actually a child with like fetal alcohol syndrome. And I guess if you are pregnant, especially if you're, I guess anytime, but particularly if you're like a geriatric pregnancy or later pregnancy, I feel like we said that before, I would be careful when you're walking. Like, because you could just slip and fall. Like, it might be, if you did get pregnant, and it might be a difficult, pregnancy to hold. Or it may take a lot of energy from you. So I think this is anything that you're connecting to, that you're growing with. It could take a lot from you to do it. So that's where you also want to watch your energy in ways of being risky. And I think part of the replenishment is being able to play and be childlike too, right? So Saturn is so serious, and he's in the house of the child. So it's the father, and the child is also going to be significant. Actually, your father, some of you, your father could be ill as well. Like be at the latter stages of life. This could even be the father of children, I don't know. But it's the father. So maybe spend time with them if you can, or forgive them. Forgive the Father. Forgive them, Father. Right? They know not what they do. If those of you who are like a watercolorist or like a painter, this could even be pottery. Like something that works with the some way or another, there's water involved in your creativity. I feel like you really, if you're probably already really good at something, but like if you really put some time into it, maybe it's that hobby extra time, but like you really could fine tune your skills. Like it could be very transformative. Some of you could also become, we were talking about that water and drowning and stuff like that. It's like some of you could, maybe part of it is right with the kids, like watch them. It could be where some of you actually are like going to be a lifeguard. You may decide to be a lifeguard. Or maybe you take CPR. This could also be a class on reflexology, or again, something about the lymphatic system. Those of you who are too structured in your art too, say naturally, like that looseness of the Pisces isn't there and you're more Virgo about it, more technical about it. This could be asking you too, maybe that's why we saw the watercolor. It's like, just paint, or like use crayons. Like don't even have lines, just have a piece of paper and like be free about it. And just allow and see what happens. Like, let that play without any structure too, because that's an infinite game. You can't, in the house of risk is always going to make it feel like I need to do the right thing. Well, hopefully. But in this, like, some of the structure I think is there is unnecessary, right? The hardness of it. I mean, you still have the structure, you have the edges of the paper, but the paper is blank. So some of you may be kind of hard, say even creatively. Maybe it's with your children, but let's go back to the art. It's like, it may be one of those things where, you know, you get a new notebook, or like I'm seeing a blank canvas. It's like, where do I start? I don't know where to start. And I mean, it might even be a little bit of writer's block, although I don't think that's an issue, especially if you write unconsciously right now. It's going to flow through you. Maybe you even need to like record yourself talking it out and then notate that or dictate that into words later. But if it's sort of slow, like where do I start with this blank canvas, then that's where you just go to I saw someone open up a grocery paper bag, you know, it's plain on one side, and like open it up and just draw one marker and just like draw on it, you know, and be silly, like, because I think that'll open something up. Maybe you'll see something and you're like, oh, elephant, and be like, oh, right, that's perfect for that. That's a nice thing to draw. You know, let me try to paint an elephant. You just couldn't think of it before, and then it comes through this sort of free-flowing energy. Does this make sense? Work may not be feeling satisfying either. If you've been working at a job, it may just not feel fun right now. That's for the next 18 months from June 2025 on. Because the South Node's going through your 10th house. Well, maybe that's why, say you do keep your job because it's your bread and butter, like it pays the bills and stuff like that. Maybe that's why the hobby also needs to be stronger, so that you're not putting all your to-dos in this place that isn't really satisfying you. Maybe it's just something, okay, I don't want to work here forever, or I know that I'm supposed to, I don't know, whatever the situation is. I mean, again, there might just be a lot of ego in the world, in the field that you're in. You know, it's kind of like I heard, oh, somebody's going to be a good, I want to be a cop because I want to be a good cop. And it's like, yeah, good luck with that. It's hard to be, but you know what? If that one good cop didn't want to be a good cop, then they'd all be bad. So I heard, don't quit just in what you're doing just because there's other people in that world that are fake. You know what I mean? And of course, you know, I heard don't contribute. to that. Right? Integrity is Saturn and Pisces also. So you'd probably keep, for most, you could change your job, but I'd say for most of you, you'll probably, well, I don't know. I guess I'd have to see the whole chart now that I'm looking at it. You could look up what the South Node means in the 10th house, though, because that's going to be there again for a year and a half. From June on. I'm sorry, from May on. That's also when Jupiter moves. I heard, I hope you get your notebook. That's when Jupiter moves into Gemini in your 8th house, and that'll be there for a year. So Jupiter in your 8th, 1 year. South Node in your 10th, North Node in your 4th, a year and a half. Saturn in your 5th, 2 years. So your 4th, 5th, 8th, and 10th house. Hold on. Actually, and if we include 3 and 4. So 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 are the houses that are all happening, all being highlighted. Okay, we're going to leave that like that. I hope this was helpful. Feel free to share your thoughts, ask questions, and I'll talk to you next time.